Living a life of integrity is one of those things that sounds like it should be straightforward, but that seldom is. I mean, we tend to be aware of the values that we want to live our lives in alignment with. We know the kind of person that we want to be, and yet when it comes to putting these things into practice, it can be extremely difficult. And this is frequently a result of there being an incongruency between our core value system and our core beliefs. Now, our core beliefs are the result of all of our past experiences, particularly if they have been negative or traumatic in any way. It's also a result of our conditioning, our social conditioning, and the programming we received in our family of origin. And it can be really difficult to challenge. Oftentimes, we're not even aware of it because it's what we have come to believe as factual. And so it becomes almost like a script for the way in which we interpret the world. And we make predictions and we make assumptions based on what it is that we expect of ourselves and other people. And oftentimes it can come from a quite negative place. You know, it can be really pessimistic and it can be judgmental and cynical and not all that beneficial to us. And I suppose it drives so much of our behavior, and it can be very much influenced by our emotional experience. So in order to be able to challenge it, we need to first of all become more emotionally attuned. We need to be able to tolerate our emotions and regulate them, and then we need to be able to challenge the consequential stories that we tell ourselves. It's like that a quote from Pema Chodron. She says, feel the feelings and challenge the stories. And it's one of the core skills that can sound so simple but can actually transform your life experience. You know, it's just about creating that internal awareness, bringing yourself back into your body, allowing yourself to feel what you feel, but not believing every single thought that comes into your mind. Because again, we tend to write quite a punitive story. We tend to assume that other people have very malevolent motives, and we tend to ignore how we feel. We tend not to express ourselves very well. We tend to assume that other people are going to just read our minds. And when we don't fully know how it is that we're feeling, it goes without saying that we're not able to express it. And when we don't express how we feel, we give other people the freedom to write a story or a narrative about what it is that our experiences. So we don't get heard, we don't feel understood, and we just feel frustrated with everybody. And it's recognizing as well that the more kindly we think about ourselves, the more kindness that we exert in the story that we tell ourselves about other people's motives and intentions, the nicer a world we're going to live in. Because ultimately, if everything that we think is a construct, then we may as well construct something positive and kind and charitable and generous, because ultimately we're the ones who are going to have to live in that reality. We're the ones creating this. So let's create something loving. And I suppose it's not something that comes easy to us. We tend to attach ourselves to the negative side of things. We tend to predict the worst case scenario. And we tend to be very judgmental and cynical, both with ourselves and with other people. However, we can practice and we can become more skilled at experiencing our emotions and being able to deal with them in a very compassionate manner, and then challenging our thoughts, recognizing when we're ruminating, recognizing when we're in a very negative mindset, and being able to replace it with something more compassionate and understanding and kind and forgiving. You know, and it's worth noting that so much of what we do, so many of our behaviors, so many of our coping mechanisms are basically an attempt to control the external world, because we're not in control of what's going on internally. We're in pain in some way, shape or form, and we just can't deal with it. We just can't handle it. So we push it down and we become perfectionist. We become addicted to whatever it is that we are using to soothe or numb ourselves. We we just fixate on something, trying to exert control over it, be it our bodies, be it other people, as opposed to actually recognizing what's going on inside. And if we can do the work, if we can go inside and recognize our pain, recognize what it is that we're scared of, recognize our need for approval, recognize our need for acceptance and our desire just to be heard and to be seen, and then we can start doing the healing that is required to live a more benevolent life. You know, we become less fixated on what other people think of us. We become less bogged down by our emotional states. We're more able to come through them in a very, I suppose, mature manner, you know, recognize that we are going to experience strong emotions, but ultimately they are messengers, and we can utilize them to grow and to create a greater awareness of who it is that we are, and we can make more discerning choices as to what it is that we do with those messages. Because, you know, anytime we feel sadness, anytime we feel envy, it's an indicator of where we are in life, and what we do with that information is really important. So if we just, you know, project it out onto other people and become very hostile and filled with hate, then it's of no benefit to us. Whereas if we go within and ask ourselves, okay, why am I feeling envious? Is there something I need to be doing with my life? Is there a part of me that I need to heal? Then we're meeting ourselves with love, and then we can start to meet other people with love. And the more we meet other people with love, the more that love will be returned to us, you know. So it's so worth your while, and it's not an overly complicated process, but it is something that requires practice and consistency and discipline, and I suppose a commitment to wanting to be a better person. And God knows that's what the world needs right now, you know. I mean, there's so much hatred out there at the moment, but there is so much opportunity for love and compassion and understanding as well. And it's all just, it starts within, you know. It starts with creating awareness. It starts with being able to be in touch with your emotions and regulate them and tolerate them and not take them out on other people. It begins with being able to be aware of your surroundings, not to be always distracted, not to be, you know, always on autopilot and focused on things that really don't matter all that much. Just bringing it back inside, being very embodied, being very just present in your own life, and understanding the impact that you have on other people and the impact that other people have on you, and the importance of being a decent human being, you know, and living a life of clarity and integrity and humility and honesty and just love. I mean, that's all we have at the end of the day. I hope everyone is having a great Saturday, and I will talk to you all again soon.